Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Bees, and I know it's been a while, but thank you for your patience as today we continue our journey with Linkin Park. Obviously, the last time we saw Linkin Park here on the channel, we were reacting to 1,000 Suns, and I felt that that album was a little bit closer to Minutes to Midnight. And those two albums kind of set themselves apart from maybe the more hard-nosed nu metal flavorings of Meteora and Hybrid Theory. And there was a lot that I liked on Minutes to Midnight, and there was some stuff I liked on 1,000 Suns. I'm not going to say that 1,000 Suns was terrible. There was stuff to enjoy on that record. But the thing I liked about 1,000 Suns, they were trying some new things, which is what I liked about Minutes to Midnight. I just felt that it came out a little bit better for me on Minutes to Midnight. But with this album, Living Things, just judging from the Spotify plays here, we got some real big hits. I'm seeing Castle of Glass, Burn It Down. And I don't know if I've heard these songs before, but if we go back all the way to when I said I was a Linkin Park hater, I'm more of a Linkin Park appreciator and a fan of a couple great songs, in my opinion. I still hear songs on the radio and I go, they're not the new Linkin Park songs, so I've heard a couple of those just because they're on the radio. But there's a couple others that I hear around town, and I'm like, that hasn't been on a record yet. That hasn't been on a record that I've reacted to. So hopefully we see some of that today. I don't know if that comes later on with the hunting party. I don't know. I don't know what to expect from here on, but it's looking like this might be more of a more celebrated album than 1,000 Suns. But what's your opinion? Does this one stack up as one of their best? Is this one of their worst? Let me know down in the comments, as well as any other thoughts you have on my thoughts. And if you ever want to see when I'm going live, make sure that you subscribe to the channel and look at my post tab, or for free on my Patreon. I announce when I'm going live there. But other than that, just click every link in my description. They are trustworthy links. I promise you. I promise you. So yeah, this is it. This is Living Things. Again, I don't really know if I know any songs off this one. 37 minutes, so we're in for a shorter one today. We're in for a shorter one. I found that even though none of the Linkin Park albums have been that long, the albums are usually paced fairly well, even if I'm not really digging it as much as I had like maybe Minutes to Midnight or Meteora. They are very refined to their essence. Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's been way too long. This is Living Things by Linkin Park from 2012. 37 minutes, 3 seconds. First track, Lost in the Echo.
Never gonna be another one, no. I followed, so take a stand. And these promises broken deep below. Each word gets lost in the echo. So one last lie. My heart, let me tell you how the odds gonna stack up. Yeah, I go hard, I go smart. How's that working out for y'all in the back, huh? I've seen that frustration, been crossed and lost and told no. And I've come back unshaken, let down and lived and let go. So you can let it be known, I don't hold back, I hold my own. I can't be mapped, I can't be cloned. I can't see flat, it ain't my tone. I can't fall back, I came too far.
So that was Lost in the Echo, opening up Living Things here. And, you know, I'm hesitant to say that I like how this is starting so far, because it seems as though it's a little bit more of a return to form, to maybe a little bit of that harder sound that they didn't really focus on in the last two albums. Now, I know, like one of my favorite album openers was on Minutes to Midnight, and just like that punks that was given up, right? It just that like 27-second scream or whatever the hell it was, like straight up punk song, punk vibes there that I really liked. And the one thing that I did like about the past two albums was that I don't know how to say it. They were employing a lot of like political commentary and cultural commentary into their music, where like I couldn't really find the vibe. I really was trying to like find the meaning between a lot of the lyrics and a lot of the themes besides just being sad and angry, that were really present on Meteora and Hybrid Theory. And then there's a little bit of that going on here. I've always been a critic of Mike's flow, although I found his flow to be pretty good here. I like it when he's like angry. And Mike seemed like kind of pissed off here. You know, he had that inflection in his voice where he wasn't just rapping here. It grabbed me a little bit more. There was a lot of emotion in there. And then obviously Chester. I'm not going to say more about what Chester can do with his vocals. Really enjoyed like, you know, this final break here towards the end of the song where, you know, they're mixing and throwing Chester's voice around and repeating it and echoing, maybe. Just maybe. But like how we saw in, you know, Minutes to Midnight, the album opened up with just like, wow, that was crazy. And then it didn't really keep that tone, although I did like a lot of the themes that they went into lyrically with that one. Also, I thought that album ended real strongly. But we're not listening to those albums. We're focusing on Living Things. We're going to try and focus on Living Things. One of Mike's best raps, in my opinion. I got to agree. I really did like Mike's flow here. So, okay, liking where this one's going. Like I said, I probably heard some songs off this album. I don't know. People in the chat really like this next one. In My Remains.
Separate, sifting through the wreckage. I can't concentrate, searching for life. Like an army falling, one by one by one.
I get so excited when Mike sings.
One by one by one, knowing my remains. Our promises that never came, set their silence fade. One by one by one.
You know, it is really just like such a novelty whenever Mike gets a chance to sing. And I thought it worked great there, especially when him and Chester are, I don't know if it's harmonizing. I guess they are, like, technically speaking. It just works well because, you know, he keeps, I wouldn't say that Mike's singing there is like flat, but given just how dynamic Chester's voice is, their singing together creates this other sense of, you know, there is a little bit more range there between all the sounds that are going on. And so far, I am getting this vibe. We'll see where it goes. I don't know, but we're kind of using the best of both worlds between the first two albums that I listened to and then the last two albums that I listened to. This is the fifth Linkin Park album that I've reacted to, where they did bring in a lot of electronic stuff in the last two albums, and it was really accessible in the sense that it didn't really hit as hard, but we got some pretty hard guitars. Not terribly hard, though, but it's not just like straight up like radio pop, like alt rock pop, I guess, which is what I got a lot of in Minutes to Midnight and 1,000 Suns. I feel like this is a little bit more of a proper marriage here. I don't know. He needs to listen to No Roads Left if he enjoys Mike singing. It is just because like he is known as the rap guy. in Linkin Park. And we've already seen Mike singing a little bit, or like Mike really just taking center stage with him rapping. So there is precedent for it, but I'm just never ready for it. I'm never ready to hear Mike singing. Because, you know, I wouldn't say it's formulaic, but it kind of is, just in the Linkin Park style, where you have Chester doing his thing, Mike doing his thing. As far as the vocals are concerned, I know Mike is way more involved in the booth than I had initially given him credit for. I know that was one of the big criticisms of my criticisms, where it's like, bro, like Mike is like Linkin Park. You know, Mike is the dude. My one critique is that while the chorus slaps, the verses kind of fell, but overall, I'm not really falling in love with any of the lyrics here. But that's kind of what I've come to expect from Linkin Park. The lyrics, honestly, I'd say lyrically, there were some songs on 1,000 Suns, and then, you know, Minutes to Midnight. I think Minutes to Midnight had the best themes that really grabbed me the most, I'd say. But we're moving on. Burn It Down. Okay, I've heard this one. This is one of the ones that I hear all the goddamn time, and I'm like, what album is this off of? It's on Living Things. Yeah, this is a pretty good one.
It's good shit, pal.
You played king, struck me down when I kissed that ring. You lost that right to hold that crown. I built you up, but you let me down. So when you fall, I take my turn and fan the flames as your blazes burn. You were there at the turn, waiting to let me know. We're building it
This synth line is just so iconic. Yeah, so not much of a reaction here, right? More of a review. I've heard the song a billion times, and I know it's been about a year. God, has it really? Probably closer to about a year since I kind of started this Linkin Park journey. I think this was one of those songs that didn't make me like so angry that like Linkin Park was on. Like I wouldn't necessarily change this one, because like that opening synth just, I mean, it's iconic, right? I think this song takes me back. You know, I am of a certain age. I'm Unk status. I was born in the 90s. Takes me back to a particular point in time, you know, end of middle school, beginning of high school. You know, this song was everywhere. And again, so this one's more of a pop radio hit. You know, it has all those things, but especially when it gets into the chorus, it is fairly aggressive, I would say. So we're still kind of running with that sonic theme that I'm finding so far here. And this is a little bit of a criticism of the album so far, just in how the sounds are kind of colored and how everything's mixed. I'm not getting like the high ends in like the right channel more than I'm getting the low ends in the left channel, kind of a deal. You know, it's like everything's kind of like all together. It's very mid. Not in the sense that like it's bad, but they're employing like I'm hearing a lot of the mids in the mix and not so much the higher or lower ends. So for me as a listener and like wanting to kind of pay attention to the production, I'm not finding a ton of room there. But, and this is a rather large one, if that's consistent through the album, I can appreciate that. I can like that would mean that it was very intentional, that this is the sound we want for this album. This is how we want to get these sounds across. You know, if it's kind of just coming straight down the pipe, you know, and I'm not really getting whiplash by trying to see where all the sounds are coming in. Maybe they have, I just haven't paid attention to it. But it kind of just seems to be coming through in like one column of sorts. I'm not a, you know, audio engineer. I've fooled around in various audio softwares for what I had to do in school, and even in my own time, just like trying out like different MIDI things. So flat, yeah, I'm hazard to say that it's flat, but it is pretty flat. That's not to say that the sounds aren't nice. I am digging the principle of everything here, but there's not a ton of room for me to kind of swim around. And that's definitely been the case for the 3 songs we've listened to. So I'm hoping that it's consistent throughout the whole album, that I'm not really catching like, wow, okay, like, that bass just came in like very apparent. Everything's kind of sticking in the same lane. It's like and that was like one of my things with Hybrid Theory, where it was like there was so much shit going on that I felt like I couldn't really pay attention to anything. It was just so chaotic. This one's a little bit, it's much more refined, but still kind of bringing back that harder attitude. So there is more to this. There is more to Linkin Park, ladies and gentlemen. We'll keep it going. Lies, Greed, Misery. The trifecta. It's what I eat for breakfast. Ah! Oh my goodness gracious. How fun. I don't know if I spoke too soon. That one was a little bit more dynamic there as far as how it sounded. That was so much fun. Mike comes in rapping, and they're using this thing. This one's definitely more electronic. It's not like they're completely foreign to that kind of sound, but they're leaning into it in a very aggressive way. I want to be that nail in the coffin, and they're repeating these things. Now, for me, I just stutter. So I repeat things that I don't even mean to. It doesn't sound as cool as them, right? It doesn't sound nearly as cool as them. When did, yes, Megalithic Symphony by AWOL Nation is one of my favorite records. And that song gave me heavy AWOL Nation vibes. I am of the opinion that AWOL Nation's first 2 albums are some of the best albums of the 2010s. At least my favorites. And so knowing that this one came out in 2012, I was like, did they like kind of like, I don't know, but like a lot of the sound in Lies, Greed, and Misery sound very similar to stuff that was on this first AWOL Nation record and the second album as well. There is some Venn diagram of what's going on here. I could imagine that if you were a big fan of AWOL Nation when this came out, and like, oh, who's this guy? Then this album would have been right up your alley. This Living Things here, especially this last song. Now, AWOL Nation doesn't get the same offerings from Mike Shinoda in the form of rapping. He doesn't really do any of that. I wasn't a fan of Linkin Park back in the day, but had I heard this song, I think I would have had a very different relationship with Linkin Park heading into my adulthood. I really do. Because I'm listening, I'm like, this sounds like AWOL Nation. This is something that I've missed for a while. It's like that slow build up, the Chester just fucking screaming his head off, which is what we got in this one. I don't know. So far, it seems like this album's like really like the best of both worlds. Although I haven't been really grabbed by the lyrics. I think they are pretty broad. It's kind of the whole Linkin Park, I feel lost and isolated. I've been let down. Here's how I feel about it. It's not great. So maybe poo-poo on me for not catching some more lyrical themes. But that's fine. I think this song especially offers more to enjoy outside of that. And then if it works good for you, if it works well for you lyrically, then that's all the better, I suppose. This one was really good. So we'll keep this train rolling. I'll be gone.
Like shining oil, this night is dripping down. Stars are slipping down, glistening, and I'm trying not to think what I'm leaving now. No deceiving now. There in the silence, I'll be gone. I'll be gone. Let the
know what? I think I got to agree with this comment right here. Solid song, but not a standout on the album, in my opinion. Not a standout, but it's a solid song. It's, coming at 3.5 minutes. I really do think that how they pace their albums and how they pace their songs is really one of their strong suits. And this one was like really more of a conventionally composed song and how it was structured. First pre-chorus, chorus kind of deal, right? Yeah, this is just your standard run-of-the-mill kind of song, I think. Whether or not you want to get into the weeds about the lyrics and like what they mean or what it means to you, that's another thing. But just given that it sounds like in its structure, it is so much more maybe conventional. It's a fine thing to put on the album, especially right after Lies, Greed, and Misery for me, which was very different from the rest of the album. It's a much shorter song. This one coming out, we're off at a good pace. So somebody said this was like very 1,000 Suns. And I don't know, like I want to say like maybe 1,000 Suns, like maybe they lost some of their edge, maybe in a way that the first few albums didn't really, they, especially the first two were like incredibly edgy, right? And so with this one, it is, I don't want to say like run of the mill for Linkin Park, run of the mill for Linkin Park. Not bad at all. It's just fine. We will keep going. This is Castle of Glass. Seems to be one of the bigger hits on the record. So let's dig in. Don't know if I've heard this one yet.
Take me down to the fighting end. Wash the poison from off my skin. Show me how to be whole again. Fly me up on a silver wave. Past the black where the sirens sing. Warm me up in the Nova's glow. And drop me down to the sea. Castle of glass, hardly anything crack. In this castle of glass, hardly anything there for you to see.
It's probably my fault because seeing how many plays this has, and again, I know that might be an inherent flaw of how I do things here, just kind of judging things off of the Spotify plays, but I felt like this one and I'll Be Gone were like very similar. Like this one was perfectly fine, and I, again, love it when Mike sings, and I thought it was mixed really well. How you could just barely hear Chester underneath Mike for a lot of that. But as far as just like, just kind of like more of a straightforward song, I'll Be Gone, like this one must have been a single, I guess. And you know what? And maybe that's because like I was relating a little bit more to the lyrics on this one. I think that's just an easy kind of metaphor to work around. So I'm only a crack in this castle of glass. It's very fragile. This whole like charade, if you will. But like Lies, Greed, and Misery, man. Like, come on. That one was so much better. In my opinion, this is all my opinion. You let me know your thoughts on my thoughts down in the comments. Yeah, I maybe I thought like something bigger was going to happen. Again, perfectly fine. Love the two of them singing along. But yeah, it just didn't really grab me enough to, because usually when we see songs with like a lot of plays, I can go, okay, I get it, right? I don't know if I'm getting this one. I don't know. I don't know. You are becoming one of us, Jerry. You enjoy the deep cuts more than the singles. Yeah, I mean, like Burn It Down makes sense, right? Burn It Down made a lot of sense to me. But yeah, this Lies, Great and Misery is just so damn fun. Yeah, but, you know, people want those maybe like it is slower. You can stew in it a little bit longer. Hey, it happens. It happens. But, you know, this next one's only a minute long. So let's just under 2 minutes. So let's just get right into Victimized here.
They're acting like they wanna riot, it's a riot, I'll give them. As the siren climbs higher on this violent rhythm. For you snakes in the grass, supplying the venom. I ain't scared of your teeth, I admire what's in them. You can put you there with them. Victimize, victimize, never again. Victimize, 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 never again. Victimize.
All right, so I didn't really have reacting to a Linkin Park song with blast beats on my 2025 bingo, but there you go. You know, we talk about how songs over the course of an album can help break it up a little bit, right? As maybe little parts help segment some of the parts of the album or what they're trying to do maybe in that particular section. This definitely breaks some things up because even though I've liked some songs more than others so far, it's kind of, again, it's kind of operated under, you know, the same kind of color and mix of things here. And this one just completely tosses all of that out the fucking window. It is ringing true in the sense that they're kind of coming back to this harder sound that I thought was missing off of 1,000 Suns. I know 1,000 Suns was maybe a little bit stronger in its themes. Which I really appreciated, but this one, it's really just coming out of like thin air. It was like, oh, okay, this one's here now. Very fun, I guess. You know, it's only a minute and 46 seconds, so I'm not really gonna knock it. This one was just, I like when it comes to this, when it's a song that's so much shorter than any other song. I believe that there was a song off of Homesick by A Day to Remember. That video's out if you want to go watch it. Where it was a very, very short song. And so, like, you know, if it's so much shorter than everything else, I just think, like, okay, this is just something that they just had to get off their chest. They're like, you know what? We just need to scream a little bit. We need to go crazy. We need to go cuckoo a little bit. And because they have brought some of those harder elements back, this isn't so far out of left field. But there, again, every other song has had that mix of things in there. Whereas this one was just fucking crazy. This one was just nuts. Chester screamed like the rent was due. Moving on here. This is Roads Untraveled.
Weep not for roads untraveled. Weep not for paths left alone. 'Cause beyond every bend is a long blind. What it cost, and in time you'll be glad it's gone. Not for roads untraveled. Weep not for sights unseen.
So, you know, this one works as like the ballad on the album. I don't know if we'll get another slower one. I might expect that towards maybe the last song on the album or something like that. But we're about at the point in the album where you should get a slower song to help break things up now that we're on the like B-side of things. I'm just so confused on how they mix this. Because everything except for the main vocals is behind. So like you have the main vocals up in front and I can hear them pretty clearly, but then we get to this. And the guitars are so far like they don't put anything else up in front now that the main vocals are gone. Everything kind of stays towards the back. And honestly, outside of Lides, Lides, Greed, and Misery, I'm not really hearing like any like interesting like production things going on, which is what I could say that there was a lot going on in those first two albums, especially Hybrid Theory. But it's kind of fun, just like, wow, this is chaotic. That was kind of the point. I get it. They're a different band. They're experimenting, and that kind of has remained consistent. I guess just for me with like how the song, like as it kind of builds up to the whoa, whoa, whoas, you might want to get a little bit harder. I don't know if it's my sound setup today. I don't think I've done much different things to it recently. So it has remained consistent. It is part of the album in that regard. So I won't knock it too much, but as a standalone song, I just, it's not grabbing me. Told you, Jerry, the equalizer was on default. Yeah, and they don't have to. Again, the guitars don't have to stand out. And this album has done a pretty decent job at combining some of the more electronic elements, some of the poppier elements, some of the harder elements, things that we've all come to know and love about Linkin Park. We've gotten the aggressive side of things, especially with Victimized, right? It like, and I could see, this one being played live, the entire crowd going, whoa, 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 whoa. That's cool. I guess I'm just not a fan of how this was mixed. But again, if it's consistent, that's how the sound of the album is supposed to be, then I'm along for the ride. So, yeah, it's just kind of fine. Even though I'm saying that, I am enjoying this. I am enjoying this because it is definitely a new side of Linkin Park that we're seeing. It is, yeah. This was never played live. Well, so then I really hazard to justify its existence, I guess. I don't mean to sound mean. So the concert in honor of Chester's memory a couple months after his death. See, okay, cool. That makes sense. Well, so we'll move on. We'll move on, right? Hopefully there's brighter roads ahead for me as far as being a little bit more engaged with the music. This is Skin to Bone. Just a little bit of electronic fun here on this one. I'm now back to like just listening to how not in front of the mix anything is, I guess, up until the end there. So obviously some of the percussion here at the end is like, it's not very deep, it's not very hard, although this one didn't have to be. Just kind of a fun little I don't want to say vibe. I've said vibe too many times. I don't know. I mean, I love you guys. if you're watching this. If you're watching this live, if you're watching the YouTube video, I appreciate that I can be honest with you guys. There's just like, it's like, so whatever. I don't know. Like, on one hand, I like where they're going sonically, but then I don't like how it's mixed. And then I'm not really jiving with the lyrics, so then it makes me miss maybe, some of the themes that we saw in Minutes to Midnight and 1,000 Suns, but I was missing some of the composition there. I was missing some of that Linkin Park je ne sais quoi, some of that Chester Judge, where this one's it's a very mixed bag for me for the most part. Who am I to say that, there's like lost opportunity in the way of how they decided to mix this and how they decided to like build some of these songs, because they're going to do what they're going to do. They're the artist. I'm the one listening to it. I get it. If I had enough to say about it and I really cared that much, I'd make my own damn album. I get that. I get that argument. I will say the second half of the album leaves a lot to be desired. We're not done with it yet. We still got 3 more songs. Let's just get into it. This is Until It Breaks.
Style like an 808 drum, so I don't run the track, no, I make the track run. My mama taught me words, my daddy built rockets. I put them both together now. Tell me what I got, it's a pretty smart weapon. I can shoot it, I can drop it, but learn to respect it, cause you clearly can't stop it like that. Petty little soldier, I ain't standing next to you. I be laying on the ground before you're even in my view like that. Give me the strength of the rising sun. Give me the truth of the words on fire. You in the lineup? Bang bang, little monkey man playing with the big guns. Only get you slain. I ain't playing, I'm just saying. You ain't got a sliver of a chance. I get iller, I deliver while you quiver in your pants. So shake, shake down. Money, here's the breakdown. You can play the bank, I'ma play the bank takedown. And no mistakes now coming to get you. I'm just a Banksy, you're a brainwash. Get the picture, it's like that.
You know what? Why the fuck not? Why not? This one was interesting. This one kept me on my toes between the melodic sections and the drum and bass kind of stylings in the instrumentation while Mike is rapping, and we just get like that, like industrial, like drum sound. I don't even know what it was. Sure, fine. With this album, the way that the second half of this album is going, I appreciate that. I can appreciate that. This album is musical blue balls for those waiting for a release of some sort. I gotta kind of agree with that because I'm not really picking up on most of what's going on here for the most part. And you might think, well, you're a Linkin Park hater, so why would you like this? I came around on Linkin Park quite a bit. Is it my fault for setting my own expectations? 100%. I get why people would really dig aspects of this album. And this song works for me just because it is so much more different than everything. There is some interesting things going on in the production. Bringing in the guitarist to sing, that was one of the things that somebody had said in the chat. I don't know if we've seen that before. I could be wrong. But there is a lot left to be desired here. Now, it seems as though this song was going to transition into maybe a more instrumental transitional thing. So I don't know if this will bleed into the last song, but we're going to give it a go. So we'll listen to the last 10 seconds of this as a trans. Tinfoil. Last song, Powerless. Perfect transition.
Says 10,000 ways to lose, and you held it all, but you were careless to let it fall. You powerless. 10,000 promises, 10,000 ways to lose, and you held it all, but you were careless, powerless.
All I'm saying is that I'm glad this album ended on a high note. That was, I would say this would probably be the better of the ballads, the better slower ones on the record. Real nice rhythm to it. You know, I would have appreciated even a little bit of Mike in here, but you know, go with what you know. If you get Chester on the vocals, I think you really can't do any wrong there. And, you know, just let me just try something real quick. I'm going to listen to Given Up just to see if it's mixed terribly or if it's just me.
I've given.
No, I just didn't like how this was mixed. Okay, I'll jump right in to the conclusion here. I don't want to shit on this album. The first half of the album is pretty good. Not gonna lie. Lies, Greed, and Misery, I found it one of my new favorite Linkin Park songs for sure. I'm glad I finally figured out which album Burn It Down was on. I appreciate the fact that they tried to do everything that they've tried since this point and combine it into a cohesive sound. And that's really what the first half of the record was. I was left wanting a lot more for the remainder of the album. I think Tinfoil into Powerless was a great soundscape. So I'd say the ending of Until It Breaks to the end of Powerless was a great soundscape. And I appreciate the fact that, you know, this issue I have with how it was mixed was consistent. So it was a very intentional thing. That was an artistic decision that they made. And I can appreciate that for what that is and what that is alone, right? Outside of that, though, you know, if I didn't really vibe with the sonic nature of 1,000 Suns, the themes and the lyrics and the messaging was a lot more clear on those, and it was more fun to me to engage with. And this one was interesting by combining those sounds from, you know, it's like, okay, here's these two, they sound like this. Here are these two albums, they sound like this. Living Things. I don't, whereas with Minutes to Midnight and 1,000 Suns, I never felt like they were holding back. I didn't feel like they were holding back. They were trying different things. I gotta say that they were holding back here. I don't know. And again, who am I to say this is how you should make this isn't it? But I am the audience, and what I say is important. It's money in their pockets at the end of the day. Wasn't vibing with this one, guys. I don't know. And I think that's a thing with me because I have grown to really enjoy aspects of Linkin Park. Lies, Greed, Misery.
Composure. Now let me show you exactly how the breaking point sounds. I wanna see you choke on the line. Swallow up your train.
Give that one 500 million plays. You anticipated the reaction you got? Well, I don't want to, I'd like to give you guys some surprises and everything like this. And I wanted to, I was excited to get back into Linkin Park. Now, I will be reacting to the Live in Texas performance that everybody's been wanting me to. That will be up on my Patreon for a while before it comes out on YouTube. So go ahead and check that out if you're interested in it. I mean, this one left me leaving a lot more to be desired, unfortunately. The hunting party is a big change from the electronic sound of 1,000 Suns and Living Things. Well, and we will do hunting parties sooner than it took me to do this one. So it's been a long time since we listened to 1,000 Suns. And it's not going to be as long for me to get into the hunting party, I don't think. So that was my reaction to Living Things by Linkin Park. Please do let me know your thoughts on my thoughts down in the comments below. Like I said, I plan on listening to the hunting party much sooner than it took me to get to this album. So make sure that you are subscribed to me if you want to see that. Make sure you follow my post tab or for free on Patreon to see when I'm going live next. As well as let me know any other of your favorite bands that I haven't reacted to yet. I could probably react to them. I do this from time to time, and I make videos of it. There is proof. If you want to see us live, if you want to see any of these reactions unedited before they go out on YouTube, make sure you click all the links down in my description. And I'd love to see you live. I'd love to see you in the chat. Like I said, gates wide open. But with that said, I've been Jerry Bees. You've been awesome. Take it easy.
Diggity dog. Breaking. Diggity dog. Breaking.